Good morning. It is Friday, January, June 7th, 2024. You're watching the John McEntyre Show live of John McEntyre. And we're really getting this day started off right. January. It's June. It's June. It's definitely June. It's too hot outside for it to be January. Uh, but like I said, you're watching John McEntyre Show. Today is Book Club Friday. We'll be sharing a book with you. But before we get into that, I'm going to share some wallet wins, and I'm going to cover the question of the day. Normally, I do the question of the day at the end. I'm putting it up towards the front so people can interact much quicker with it during the show. So let's get into it. Our first wallet win is I moved my savings and emergency funds to a high yield savings account. That was real smart. We did a show on that. I think it was a couple of days ago. Um, did a show about having your savings um, and your emergency fund in a high yield savings account, FDIC insured high yield savings account or money market account. Wanted to make sure because not all money market accounts are FDIC insured. So want to make sure and throw that in there. There's a few banks out there that has some high yield savings accounts, and in today's time that's really important because you want every advantage you can to offset inflation. So a high yield savings account, if it's the right if it's given the right interest, annual interest return, then you can actually, at least, level inflation off. Say for instance, if um, inflation was 4%, there are one or two banks out there that's giving 5%. So, hey, you're actually winning. You're actually getting a 1%. You're 1% over inflation. So that's always a good idea to move those over into a saving. As your savings into a high yield savings account and money market account, and also low fees. Low fees also. You want to make sure that can help also with offsetting inflation, because some banks will fee you to death. We talked about that. They have fees for every little thing, and so make sure you pay attention to that also. All right, so wallet win number two. I found out about an old 401k that I had left at an old job before quarantine. Well, that's always good. Uh, it's really not that long ago, but it seems like a long time ago because it was such a. And I can understand how a person may forget about anything pre-quarantine because that was something we'd never seen before, and it was very stressful, and a lot of tragedy came out of that. So I can understand that, and that is a reminder. Anything pre-quarantine, check into it financially. Check into it. Pre-quarantine, because you may find something like this. People lost jobs. Jobs went away. Companies shut down. Did layoffs. Everything like that. And so, remember to always check the investments. Anything that you left with the company, go get it. Just go and check. This is just a reminder to go and check, to see if you left any old accounts there, investment accounts. So that one was good. I would be happy to find out about that. As a matter of fact, that just triggered my memory. I did that myself. Um, it was my very first 401k. I had reason why I forgot about it because where I was working, it was a part-time job, but they actually gave benefits. They gave full benefits to part-timers, and um, and I mean, I'm talking about health insurance and 401k, and it was actually a 401k with a very good company at that. Uh, and I just totally forgot about it because the part-time job, that's really was what it wasn't for the 401k. I was using it as to get my benefits, cheap low cost benefits. I only had to work 8 hours a month, and I got full benefits even though I worked more time than that. So I really didn't think about didn't think too much about the 401k contribution, even though I had had some going in, because they were not matching dollar for dollar, but it was like 50 cent on the dollar, which was good. I put in $1, you put in 50 cent, I'll do it. But time, just so much time passed that I just didn't think anything else about it. But then Andrea, she was talking to me about it, and I was like, yeah, I think I actually do, and went in and checked. It wasn't a lot there because the market wasn't doing too well. I kind of looked at it at the wrong time. Market wasn't doing too well, and if I'm not mistaken, I may need to go check that out again. I don't even remember it's closing the account. So there you go. Even I do stuff like that. So I'm reminding myself what I need to do. So that's a good reminder. Go check old accounts. It's called Finding Money. Andrea, she's huge on finding money. That's like she's like really good at doing that, finding money in people's, financial situations. Um, so yeah, do that. Wallet win number 3, had some extra money to actually help a family that needed help. And you can't beat that one. That's always good, because one of the on the path to financial success, financial security, financial freedom, giving is a big part. Giving is a huge part. I'm a firm believer that if you give, you will receive. That if you help, you will be helped, and it's good for the community. It's good for the spirit. It's good for the soul. Me, we follow biblical principles, and that's one of them. Generous, being generous, generosity. You've never met an unhappy generous person. At least I haven't. um, I've never met a generous person that wasn't prosperous. They may not be the richest person in the world, but they're prosperous and they're well taken care of. They have people around them that will take care of them, that will help them when they need it. And they have a very strong community of people. And so that is a very strong wallet win there, having extra money to help a family in need. So we have 3 good wallet wins today. Move my savings to an emergency fund, and my savings and emergency fund to a high yield savings account. Um, Found an old 401k, left at a job, and extra money to actually help a family in need. 3 great wallet wins for today to start the weekend off. I want to share your wallet wins out there. Hashtag wallet wins. Put it in there. If you're watching, put it in the chat that you have a wallet win to share. I'll share it during the show. Also with your questions. If you have a question, make sure you put it in there. Well, before you do anything, like the channel. Give us a like, a subscribe. If you're watching through Facebook Live, like the page where this is streaming through. Then share your questions and your wallet wins. If it's a question, put a Q in front of it. We'll know that it's a question, and then we can address it as we move through the show today. So, we've done our wallet wins. Let's do that question of the day. The question of the day is, if money was no issue, how would you choose to spend your time and life? That's a financial question, and it's also a life question. It's a career question. So let's just put it under the category of life, because most people, when they get honest with themselves, if they're feeling some discontent, maybe a little, irritated, unhappy about something in life, it could be that area they're doing something that they really don't want to do, because it's paying the bills and it's doing things like that, and which is nothing wrong with it, as long as you know. Um, and in America today, what, 70%, between 70 and 80% of the people are unhappy with what they do anyway. And so that means there could be one of the big reasons of a lot of unhappiness, and people are just so irritable in this day and time, is because they're doing something they don't like to do. So if money was no issue, how would you choose to spend your time in life? Would give you an idea of what you need to start working towards, or you need to at least do some work on becoming more content with where you are. You may need to make some changes to make it fit you. Um, I've talked to quite a few people who it's not that they don't like what they do, they don't like how they're doing it. And so making a change in the way that you're doing it, where you're doing it, could be something to do with. Maybe I know it's a lot of times on those days. This is my favorite part of the day, one of my favorite parts. But if I was doing it at a beach, I would really be happy. I probably had a straw hat, had a coconut with some uh, Coke Zero or something like that because I don't drink, but I would have something like that in it. And so, people ask, do you really like what you do? Yes, I love what I do, but I love it even better if I was like, if this camera was facing me and I was looking at the ocean, a beautiful day like today. But I'm not, and I'm good. I'm content with where I am. So that's something to work towards. If money was no issue, how would you choose to spend your life? So, question of the day. Share your answer. All right, let's get into it today. Like I say, is Book Club Friday, where I share a favorite book of mine from my library, my personal library. And today, book is Emotional Intelligence by Danielle Goldman. Not Danielle, Daniel, actually a male. Goldman. You see, it has a glare there. There we go. Has an actual glare, and so that's one of my serious books. That's what I call one of my inner court books. I have a philosophy that I live by, and that I'm teaching my daughter Bella is you have outer court people, those people you associate with, or whatever is something in life you associate with it. You do deal with it, or if it's a person, I do associate with them. We're cordial and all of that. Then I have an inner court group of people or objects that they're important. They're important. I deal with them more than usual. Then I have that inner court group of people and resources. Those are the ones that we seek each other. Or if it's something like this book is something that I refer to a lot. Like I say, outside of the Bible, this is one of the books that I refer to a lot, that I use a lot in daily. I read it so much earlier when I first got it. And it's funny because I bought this book for $1 from my library. The library card is still in it, where people was, stamping it, because this book was written in 94, 95. And as you can tell, I've read it, but it's still like new, and it came from like 96 or something like that. I think, well, no, I bought it from library sale in like 2000. It was like early 2000s when I bought it. I learned about it from another book that I like. One of my favorite books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He was talking about it. So that's what, and I was at libraries, they have book sales. They're raising funds. And so it was $1. I mean, cannot beat that. And it's one of the first editions. Look, it's like still has the um, library markings and everything. Hardcover, very good. Book in good shape. But it's a very good book to me, and the reason why is because what I learned from this book is you have you have more than one type of intelligence. And when you hear the word intelligence, you think of IQ. That's usually the one. You're in school, they measure IQ to see how smart you are in school. This book teaches EQ, um, and it the theory, which is it's no longer a theory, is proven. EQ in life is better than IQ. I've learned in finances, with money, life, business, all the way around. An emotionally intelligent person will beat out IQ a high IQ. A person with a high EQ will beat a person with a high IQ every time. For the simple fact of EQ refers to the ability to exert self-control, regulate your moods, and empathize with others, and motivate yourself to persist in front of setbacks. IQ doesn't do that. IQ just measures, how you think. Are you a critical thinker? You're an abstract thinker? and some of the smartest people in the world. I'm not downgrading IQ whatsoever. You have Einstein, huge IQ. You have today's time, you have Bill Gates, you had Steve Jobs, you have a lot of the big, business innovative people, creators. They had very high IQs, but those people also they have high EQs also. They were able to keep themselves disciplined to do what they needed to do with their IQ. And I met a lot of highly intelligent people, probably, and I'm going to say this, some of the smartest people I ever met IQ wise are homeless. I met them in cities and they're actually homeless, living under bridges. And these people are extremely intelligent. I know some close friends of the family who certified geniuses on paper, but died early from alcoholism, drug use, things like that. And it's because they had a very low EQ. They couldn't get their emotions regulated. It could have been some other things. I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose everything. But from what I've learned and how I interacted, um, it seemed they were very stable EQ people. When I'm having a conversation with them, but then they would do things that show that that they, their emotions would get the best of them a lot. And I learned once I read emotional intelligence, I understood where that came from is because they had a high IQ but lower EQ. And so with finances, for instance, it's the high EQ that people that some of the great investors, people that manage their money well, they have high EQs. They can take a little and make a lot. Those are the ones when you hear certain investors or very wealthy people successful with money, when they say things like, you don't need money to make money. That's what they're talking about. They have a very high EQ. They can take nothing and make it into something. They can take an idea and go get investment money with it, or have a bank to loan money to them because they have that EQ and they make it work. They can actually take something, take nothing, and make it into something, because at the end of the day, that's really what our economy is built off of. The success of the economy is just built off of ideas being put in, being worked. That's all that it is. And it takes a very high EQ. For instance, on those days you don't feel that your budget is working, but you keep doing it, is your EQ is getting higher and higher. You're keeping yourself under control. When the market is not doing so well and you have your money invested in the market, in index funds or however you're invested, you don't pull it out because on a certain level that the market, it goes down but it comes up, and it over time it does dip, but it dips and it's getting higher and higher as it does dip you know and so those are the high EQ people that understand those types of things and can weather those types of storms, and they don't let those markets shake them. In today's time, the people that's on social media spewing negativity and hate and all of that, that's just low EQ. That's all that it is. It's a low EQ, because a person with a high EQ would not do that. They wouldn't have let their emotions get out of whack so much to where they would take to social media and spew hate and call people, names, and down them, but then wouldn't do it to them in person. That's a low EQ type person. That's all that it is. They could have a very high IQ, because I've seen some argue very intelligently. You could tell that their IQ is high, but their EQ is very low, because why would you even be arguing about that? you know and I'm going to get off the soapbox of that, but that's EQ at work. I'm saying that to say that that is EQ at work. And research shows that IQ is really is about 20%, and this applies to finances also. 20% IQ, 80% EQ. And it goes back to that. That's why the high EQ people can take a little and do a lot with it. They have the discipline. They can delay gratification. They can do things like that. They can work well with people where they're constantly, they're employed, and um, the great salespeople and business people, they're high EQ people. They can get along well with all different types of people. They empathize with people a lot, which means they put themselves in their shoes and they can serve them because they understand them. They take the time to understand the person's needs and desires and how they're thinking. They can put themselves into the shoes and then create products and services and and everything to serve that. And that takes a very high EQ. um, it's five components I learned in this book. There's five components. Two, high EQ self-awareness, which means they know their emotions and they can keep them in check. Well, and they can manage them. That's number two. They are aware. They know when they're angry. They know when they're fear. If it comes to finances, if the market is doing a certain thing, they don't allow highs to make them become greedy, and they don't allow the lows to make them become fearful. And if they do feel those, they know what it is, and they can keep it in check, which is part two, which is they can regulate their responses. They don't run to the market too late. They don't get out of the market too early, or they do their estate plan when they need to. They buy their insurance when they know that they need to. They take care of everything. They don't allow their emotions, like um I don't want to talk about insurance. I don't want to talk about death, and that's fear talking. Or um I can't start that business now. That doesn't work. When that's fear and ignorance talking, they keep those types of things in check, and they can look at something and make a sound decision. That's what they can do. So they can manage their responses. um they're motivated. They channel their emotions productively, which means I call it going pro, being a pro, to where no matter how they're feeling, they do what has to be done. They don't allow that. I'm not feeling so well today, and so they just lie in bed all day, or they do what has to be done. Okay, if it's business wise, they know they need to be generating clients. They need to be doing the marketing. They need to be learning this. If it's life, they have to be doing this. If it's at work, they're keeping their projects on task and on time, and other people are not having to step in and carry them and doing things like that. They use their emotional responses to keep them moving forward. If they get angry, they can it's an old word, transmute it into positivity, into a positive energy. Instead of being destructive, they can transmute it and become constructive with it. They can manage their emotions very good. Um, and and they use their emotions very well for relationship management. you know and that goes back to a lot of things that I said earlier. The book the book can be talked about for hours and hours. This is not a book that you just quickly read it and just check it off as saying it's one of the books. This is a book. He's written other books, emotional intelligence for kids, emotional intelligence for people. There's a book called Emotional Intelligence 2.0, to where he rearranged some things after more study. Because, like I said, this book is almost 30 years old now, and so he's done a lot of research has come out of it. But the original, I'm weird. I kind of like the original of things. Then I'll go and read the updated versions. So I was happy to get my hands on the first printing of the book, which makes it also valuable. It's a good investment, financially investment. $1, and I can sell this book right now for a lot more than $1. So I'm happy. It gave me a lot of return in a lot of ways, and it keeps giving returns on a daily basis for me. So that's the book here, Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. I almost went over time here, but this is one of the books that gets me going because it's so valuable. And so, before we go, um, I talked a lot about finances, and if you have any questions that you need answers about your finances, or you need help with getting your finances in order, my team is here to help. We can help you in any area of your finances. May be time for that checkup. Maybe your first time talking to someone about money. We talk to a lot of first timers. Probably about 30 to 40% of the people we talk to is their first times being intentional with their money. And that's what they need help with, being intentional with their money. And that's what we're here to help with. That's why we do the show. That's why I do live. That's why we serve the way we do, is to help people with their financial well-being. And so, that being said, I'm going to close it. I hope everyone have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday. Oh yeah, and an announcement about Monday. Monday we will be doing live in the evening. The live will actually be I think around 8 o'clock. I will be doing the announcement. We'll be doing a live because of some unforeseen circumstances that came up. So I'm going to be live Monday evening around 8 o'clock. I'll do the announcement, and so I didn't want to forget that. So have a good weekend. This is John McEntyre. Excuse me. We'll talk.